The Three Doctors is the most influential of all the multi-Doctor stories. To mark the 10-year anniversary of the show, they decided to kick off season 10 with a huge bang by bringing back William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton for the very first time to create an event that would blow the minds of fans and influence the show for years to come. Obviously, that was a very big deal. But there were so many other firsts in this story that it almost feels like they created their own fan service before fan service was a thing. So let's dive in and relive all the things that happened first in this story, and sadly, one final appearance of an absolute legend. Let's get into The Three Doctors. Subscribe, or I'll make Omega come over to your house and scream at you. On Earth, present day. Back then, some old caretaker dude on a wildlife sanctuary finds what looks like to be a crashed out weather balloon. But when he f***s with it, he gets his ass sci-fi'd. Some other government dum-dum shows up and takes the box back to unit. This moron is Dr. Tyler, but he isn't very important, he's just around most of the time. Turns out this thing monitors cosmic rays, and lately they found some crazy space lightning thing that is traveling faster than the speed of light, which, can't happen because it is light. The Doctor is interested in all this shit, so he lets Dr. Fuckstick start using Unit's equipment to study some which, mildly irritates the Brigadier. He prints out this face, which is way more frightening than Omega ends up being, and gets his ass sci-fi'd too. While this acid trip blob crawls out of the machine. That light blob makes it outside and attacks the Doctor and Joe, but ends up eating Bessie. So the Doctor hooks up with the Brigadier, and they figure out that Dr. Dum-Dum has disappeared, and that the light thing is after them. But more specifically, it's after the Doctor. The Brigadier rightfully wants to go ahead and create a plan for a hostile enemy, but the Doctor's like, nah, if we just wait around long enough, it'll come and get us and I'll figure it out then. He doesn't have to wait long because these rubber rust blob things just show up and start wobbling toward Unit, but unfortunately they are immune to bullets and sound like this. So that shit's not good. That's when they show their crab hands that can shoot light explosions. So yeah, it's pretty. Team Doctor just sort of watch as Unit men die until Jolson over here uses a rocket launcher that works for 2 seconds, and everyone stops to congratulate themselves over that. Hey, we hit one! Hey, to all my friends over there in England, we in the US sort of hang our hats a lot on the fact that we beat you guys back in the 1700s. All that throwing tea shit in the harbor. We celebrate that every year by shooting off non-lethal explosions into the air to ooh and ah over while it scares our dogs. But guys, watching Unit bumble just about every thing that comes their way really makes me question just how big of a deal it was that we beat you that one time. Because man, if these dudes are any indication of the aptitude of the decision-making within your military, well, we were gonna win regardless, so maybe we should just stop pointing at the scoreboard like we won the Super Bowl every year. Or the World Cup, depending on your thing. Anyway, Benton requests a retreat considering how badly they're getting their asses handed to them. The Lightbright monster shows back up and eats the doorway, so everyone gets into the TARDIS. Yes, you're going to get many of these scenes throughout all 4 episodes, but they're never not awesome. So enjoy Benton's reaction to being in the TARDIS for the first time. And then the Doctor says the thing.
Well, Sergeant, aren't you going to say that it's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside?
By the way, this is the first time that has ever been said on the show, and the Doctor said it as something that someone should say when they get into the TARDIS. That's a neat little piece of trivia for you there. The Doctor was gonna, I guess, fly the TARDIS up to space to lure the monsters, but he can't even do that, so he calls the Time Lords. Over on Gallifrey, the new president and chancellor are dealing with a big power drain, a giant space blob, and an interior designer that decided to take a color shit all over the main control room. So things are going pretty bad for them. The president figures out they are pretty f***ed unless they break the first law of time and let the Doctor go help himself. So he plucks the second Doctor out of his time stream and brings him into the TARDIS. I'm not sure you guys know what a perma-smile is, but I got one as soon as Patrick Troughton showed up. He says the thing.
I can see you've been doing the TARDIS up a bit. I don't like it.
Of course they argue, but considering this is the first multi-Doctor story, we can excuse that. Troughton's Doctor explains the situation and why he is there, and does a mind meld with Pertwee to download what's going on. But then they start arguing again. That don't matter though. The Time Lords decide that throwing shit against the wall will eventually work, and pull the first Doctor out of his time stream to set these two straight. William Hartnell floats in on the monitor because the Time Lords are running out of energy and he's stuck in a time eddy, so he tells them to stop being f***ing dumb. The psychedelic light monster is actually a time bridge, so get off your ass and cross the bridge. Immediately, they flip a coin to see who's going outside, which 2 flips and doesn't actually show the coin, which, damn it, that's perfect. The third Doctor decides to go out and be a hero, but Joe runs after him, and they both get their ass sci-fi'd. The second Doctor and Benton go outside the TARDIS to look at the thing, and that's when the Brigadier shows back up and notices that Troughton is back. His reaction, guys, priceless. They decide to let Benton guard the little antimatter gremlin that's now asleep with something the Doctor rigs up that doesn't work so that they can go talk to Geneva. The third Doctor and Joe wake up in a rock quarry.
This is a place. It's just like any other place.
And decide to walk around and find all the things, including the office and Bessie, so they decide to drive it around.
Joyride in the antimatter zone.
Most of those rubber suits are here too, and so is that useless from the wildlife sanctuary. Benton sucks at guarding, and the antimatter puppy starts growing, so everyone gets back into the TARDIS. Finally, and for the first time, the Brigadier gets to see the inside of the TARDIS, which is tons of fun to watch, and then the Doctor says the thing!
Careful, Jerry, baby.
The Brigadier is pretty pissed about all of this, so the Doctor decides to fix his communicator so the little baby can have his pacifier, when the first Doctor shows back up and tells the second Doctor to turn off the damn force field and go face the danger already. He's fed up with waiting around with their shit. Team 3 find Dr. boring, and they pontificate on how they are in a real place when this is supposed to be antimatter. That's when the blobby things decide to nearly kill them with explosives. They take them to some hallways to wait for a bit, but Dum Dum is scared and decides to split. He just gets lost and ends right back up where they were, so, you know.
That was a bit of a waste of time, wasn't it?
Finally, they lead them into the main room. Meanwhile, the second Doctor decides to take the first Doctor's advice and just let it go, man. Let it go. Let it go, let it go. Can't hold it back anymore. Let it go, let it go. Turn away and slam the door. I don't care what they're going to say. Let the storm rage on. Omega never bothered me anyway. Omega shows up and reveals himself. He sends the others away so that he and the Doctor can talk. You see, he was pretty smart, and he created time travel, but then he got trapped in a supernova, and now he's trapped in this antimatter place. But now he's gonna kill all the Time Lords! Team Troughton shows up in the antimatter zone and get taken over to Omega's place, and Omega figures out both 2 and 3 are the same Time Lord, but then Troughton starts pissing him off, so he sends them all to a room. The doctors have figured out that Omega exists because of his singularity of will, and Joe figures out that, hell, if Omega can do it, then so can they. So the doctors will a door and escape. The doctors make it back to Omega's chamber and find a smokestack that I guess represents Omega's singularity. But Omega's there, and for real, he's not having any of this. By the way, if you had the Doctor wrestling an alien inside of Omega's mind and losing, you got bingo! Omega lets the doctors free, but then Troughton just starts pissing him off again, so Omega finally gets to the point of why he brought the doctors here in the first place. You see, he's pretty stuck here because of the whole singularity thing being something that he has to do to exist, so he can't leave. So he figures if he can get another Time Lord here to take his place, he can GTFO. The doctors agree, so Omega decides that they can have his mask. But, Then Omega has a baby tantrum about all this. And quite honestly, it is side-splittingly hilarious. The doctors escape Omega's bachelor pad and meet back up with everyone at Unit. They escape into the TARDIS and hook back up with Hartnell and do another mind meld and figure out a plan. You see, they're going to give Omega some box in the TARDIS. Look, the real plan is really convoluted. But unfortunately, the recorder fell into it. Omega lets them use the TARDIS to come over to him after they ask him nicely. He also lets everyone else go because he wants to use the doctors as his companions for all of eternity. Since he can't leave now, everyone steps through the smoke, one by one, which takes f***ing forever. Once they're gone, the doctors offer Omega the box, but he ain't taking that no matter how much mind melding they do. But then they order him to take it, and you don't order Omega to do so he knocks that box over. You see, this box has a force field to it, and the recorder had landed in it, and now it's actually matter and not antimatter, so the second that thing touches antimatter, it's gonna explode. Everyone's okay, even the TARDIS, even though it didn't have its dematerialization circuit, and the damn thing couldn't fly just not too long ago. Also, how the hell did everything just go back to where it was when it didn't go through the light steam thing? Anyway, everyone is safe, including the guy that brought nothing to the story. They explain everything to everyone, say goodbye to Hartnell, and Troughton goes back to his time stream. Pertwee feels kinda bad about killing Omega, but completely forgets about that once the Time Lords give him back his dematerialization circuit and knowledge of time travel. The end. Man, that was a good time. I had a blast watching this. It's also kind of a little sad to think that this is the one and only time Omega was used properly. But let's get into the things that I liked. Look, I straight fangasmed through this whole story. I've told you before, I have my own list of doctors from 15 to 1, numbered and based upon my preference. Now, I'm not going to tell you where these 3 land on my list because we're saving that for when I'm running out of content, but I can tell you that 2 out of the 3 of these doctors are very, very high on my list. Troughton just brings a smile to my face no matter what. The second he showed up and started his brand of f***ery, I just could not stop smiling ear to ear. The only thing that would have made it better is if Jamie were with him, because that's my personal favorite doctor-companion relationship ever. Sorry, Donna and Ten. I still love you guys, though. But the second Troughton showed up with that little twinkle in his eye, it just made me so happy. The man is having the time of his life f***ing with Pertwee and just being back on the show. But then they bring in Hartnell, and yes, I know he wasn't well enough to be on set and in person, but the second that they showed him and he gave his trademark, I looked like one of those creepy people from the movie Smile because I was both grinning and crying and full of snot bubbles. When Hartnell calls them a dandy and a clown and then straight looks at them in the face and says, "Have you done anything?" It's like he reached into my brain and started reviewing the episode. And then they take these 3 very distinct doctors and play each one of them to their strengths. All 3 of these doctors are smart. They're clever. Each one of them is a badass hero. But then they wrote the story in a way for you to understand why each one of them was needed to defeat Omega. Pertwee is the hero. He's the guy you pick to go up against Omega's champion in a weird, slow-motion wrestling match. You want him to stand tall against Omega because he's the guy that's going to listen, understand, and take action. But as awesome as he is, he's also not as resourceful as Troughton's doctor. Sure, he looks like he's f***ing around the entire story looking for his lost recorder, but he knows how to test Omega by irritating him, and then he knows exactly how Omega's gonna react when he offers Omega the antimatter bomb. But neither one of them were intelligent enough to immediately understand what the light monster was and what they needed to do to fix the conflict. Hartnell is the perfect doctor to help them there because he's the scholar, and he doesn't like people f***ing around. It was just so much fun to watch these 3 men work together and honor each other. Look, I love and respect these 3 men so much for what they did for the role that they created. To me, it's almost like family. And then I realized that all 3 of these titans are no longer with us, and it just nearly broke me. I love all these doctors, but these guys are family, and just seeing them together like this, with the show honoring them in the best way that they could by letting them be the doctor they were when they were the doctor, and have that enhance the story, it was the best present that they could ever give the fans. Because now, we have this forever. Can we give love to Nicholas Courtney? His reactions throughout the story are just so great. When he sees Troughton for the first time, when he thinks that they've traveled to another country and there's gonna be international repercussions, when he figures the Doctor has been misappropriating unit funds to make the inside of the TARDIS, when he keeps trying to take charge and ends up useless. I mean, damn, he is great. And I really appreciate his willingness to do anything for the show. The Brigadier isn't always a useless character, and he's helped the Doctor out in a lot of situations, but you have to appreciate Nicholas Courtney not causing a problem at being used as the comic relief in this story. We give a lot of love to each of the actors that play the Doctor, and sometimes we give love to the companion, but there are people that were and are around this show that understand it is more than just a role. It is a responsibility to those that love it and grew up with it, and Nicholas Courtney was one of the ones that understood that. And for that, I will forever love the Brigadier, and I loved him in this story. I didn't want to, considering the bull they just put us through, but I loved Omega. This guy is the best. He's so overdramatic and pompous. He's hilarious. And he's loud as f*** too. Listen to all this.
And all things shall be destroyed. All things. All things.
I swear there were times that I was watching this that I thought I was listening to Plankton from SpongeBob SquarePants. And this outfit, oh my god, this has to be the flyest pimp fit we have ever seen on Doctor Who. No, he's not exactly scary, unless you find people bellowing at you frightening. But you don't always need to be scary to be a good villain. I know the actor even thought he played Omega a little too over the top, but I respectfully disagree. This is a character whose sheer determination, will, and hatred for the Time Lords that left him to die has kept him alive, and that's all he is now. So of course he's gonna be insane. And he figured out how to time travel, so you know he's got the smarts. So now you got this crazy smart dude that is so pissed off, he willed himself to live in antimatter, and now he's freaking out at every single thing, and acts insane and challenges the Doctor to the dark side of his mind. So let me ask you, dear viewer, if you have this insanely entertaining villain that is hell-bent on killing all of the Time Lords, so much so that he could give two if he erases all matter in the universe, why would you then turn this insanely entertaining villain into a skeleton baby crawling out of a pipe? Things I didn't like. I didn't like these Guardian things. What the was this? I'm gonna try not to knock their look too much because I actually like the little antimatter blob, so I don't have good taste. I just didn't like their whole vibe. If I got this straight, these dudes guard your palace thing. You sent your antimatter dish rag over to reality so that it could bring the Doctor back to you, and it was pretty effective overall. So what are these things for? Like, I sort of understand when they get to the antimatter zone, you use them to herd people over to your secret lair, but what was the purpose of sending them to UNIT? Did you intend for them to herd the Doctor over to the antimatter blob that can move around in the pipes and swallow whole buildings? At least I can see where John Hughes got the idea for Chet whenever he gets turned into a turd in Weird Science. I didn't like the sets, especially inside Omega's little apartment. It isn't because he has an apartment, that's fine, dude's gotta play Xbox somewhere. And it isn't even because the place kinda looks like some of the halls in the Starship Enterprise. Again, it's Doctor Who, I can get down with cheap. But guys, if you're gonna decorate the walls, like fucking decorate the walls. The waiting area for Omega looked okay, but the longer the episode ran, the less you bothered with the walls. Look, I don't like docking Doctor Who for bad-looking sets. That's part of the reason we love the show. It's so bad sometimes that it's charming, but I really got distracted because there weren't any real consistency in how you decorated the room or the hallways. Things I didn't understand.
What?
So I don't understand the politics of Gallifrey. I know I'm not really supposed to, but I'm confused by the hierarchy and decision-making of these two Time Lords. Like, which one of these dudes is in charge here? Because the president guy metaphorically says "F the law" when he starts bringing the Doctor into his own time stream. But this chancellor guy disagrees and kinda gives him the business about it. And in the beginning, the president guy was given a report over to the chancellor guy, and the president is calling the chancellor Your Excellency. It was just confusing as to who was in charge. Like, Rassilon was Lord President, and the Doctor later gets to be president, so I thought the president was like King of Turd Mountain on Gallifrey. I know the writers didn't know either, considering they hadn't written any of that yet. Luckily, I found this online, but I shouldn't have to go online to figure this shit out. So now I get that the president is in charge, but now I don't understand why the little chancellor thought his britches were big enough to challenge the authority of the Lord President. I don't know. The Gallifrey parts were boring and sucked and confused me. Why did Omega make the Doctor wait outside of his room for so long? He's been stuck in this little zone since the butt crack of time travel and sent a bit of antimatter into the world through sheer force of will to track down the Doctor and bring him here so that he can finally get out of this hole that he's in. And he ain't ready when he gets there? Dude, what a diva. Yes, I know most of the points that I make within my reviews fall into the category of nitpicking. But hey, you've already come this far. You might as well peer in too.
Nitpick Corner!
I didn't have Benton immediately violating the Geneva Convention in his treatment of a POW on my bingo card for this episode. Jesus, dude, you threw your gum wrapper at it, which, you know, disrespectful. Then the thing gets agitated, you start using the Doctor's spark maker on it? You don't know what that thing does! You're lucky the Doctor didn't put the damn thing together right, or else you might have been brought up on some war crimes. Hey guys, when Omega tells you to bring the Time Lord, he doesn't mean use coordinated explosives and nearly kill the one thing that he traveled through time and space using just his will so that he can enact his revenge. I don't know how long Omega was in this thing, but we know that it's been a hot eon or so since he's supernovaed out of existence, so maybe don't immediately set off your crab hands when he needs you to bring the dude to his lair. This is an interesting story, not only after the whole Omega debacle from this past season, but really because of how well they made this story, even with the fan service. I mean, they could have easily made Hartnell and Troughton into time travel ghosts that popped in every now and then to aid the Doctor along his way, and the nerddom probably would have sighed in contentment, as they seem to have done lately. But the BBC said that they were going to make a multi-Doctor story, and by God, they did. Even with Hartnell being trapped in a time eddy so that he could be in this thing was thought out so that we could make him make sense for the story. The whole thing is fun and a joy to watch as these three guys each show you why they deserve and will forever be the Doctor. I give the three Doctors an 8. Yeah, there's plenty of dumb things happening all throughout the story, but once Troughton shows up and Omega starts bellowing, I just sat back and had a blast. We're close, guys. Well, you guys in the UK are getting close to see the war between the land and the sea, while the rest of us wait until Disney decides to bury it somewhere on the platform. But all of us are close to revisiting the talons of Wang Chiang. Next time, we will see if this is racist or not. Plus, we'll get to see if I can pronounce it correctly throughout the whole review. Odds are not good. Oh, and if anyone just so happens to bootleg a copy of The War Between the Land and the Sea before Disney gets it so that I can review it for you, we can do that shit on the download, my homie.
Though considering the way things have been going, well, I shudder to think what you'll do without me.
Don't miss a great night of programming on ABC. And now back to Omega Dance Party. Hey there, awesome viewer. You've made it to the end of this video, and you know what that means. YouTube is going to try and get you to click on this video right here. I personally think you should do it because most likely it's one of mine. If it's not one of mine, can't really vouch for it, but YouTube will, so, click it. Anyway, talk to you later. Love you. Bye.